everybody, this is Strategywizard again, and today I'm going to be doing a review of Cthulhu Death May Die, along with its expansions. This is a game by Eric Lang, this is my first one, and it's a cooperative one, which is not his typical wheelhouse, so, you know, I got this mainly because of the theme, the Cthulhu theme I like. I like the Cthulhu mythos, I like all that creepy, but also, it's not just your typical zombie horror. There's something about this I really like, that just supernatural, cosmic creepiness that the Cthulhu mythos brings to the table. And this game brings it in a very amazing fashion, partly because the miniatures that, you know, this is known for. The miniatures are so well done, and they just evoke a lot of the fear and the intimidation of these evil creatures that you're dealing with. So that's what drew me to it, but I didn't know a whole lot of what to expect. I just kind of got the idea looking at, you know, the basics, just looking at the miniatures, looking at the map tiles and stuff on whatever websites I found this on. I thought, you know, this seems like the kind of thing I think I will like, and I just took a jump and bought everything for it all at once, pretty much. Hopefully, I made the right choice. Let's go down to the table. I'll show you how to play, and then I'll let you know if I made the right choice or not.
The ritual is almost complete. A dark, evil entity will soon be summoned into our world. But a few bold adventurers who are slightly insane have remained to challenge the evil and destroy it once and for all. Before you can set up a game of Cthulhu Death May Die, you must first decide which great old one and which scenario you'd like to choose. So you could combine Hastur or Cthulhu with any of the 6 scenarios that come in the base game, or if you have the Season 2 expansion, you can combine Hastur or Cthulhu with any of the additional 6 scenarios that come there. And if you have the additional elder ones, including the Black Goat or Yog-Sothoth, then you will be able to combine them with any of those scenarios, and that combination will decide the setup and exactly what type of challenges you'll face in your game. First, the scenario box. You'll be able to see all of the main components that are going to be part of your game. Whenever you flip it over to the other side, it'll show you every component that should be in the box. It'll have you some flavor text that will give you an idea of the story that's going on in this particular episode. And you'll pull all of these components out so that you can set up the game. And it will include instructions on how to put together the map. It will show you where everything goes. And then, of course, you will have to open your Elder One, or Great Old One, and you'll see not only the actual evil entity itself and the particular monsters that come with him, but you'll also get some cards that you'll need to complete the setup of this particular game. Now you will be able to combine both the Mythos cards from the particular Elder One that you're fighting and that from the scenario that you're playing, so that you can make one complete Mythos deck, which you will use to resolve all of the horrific things that will be fighting you in this particular scenario. And also, you will be able to set up the map at this point based on the card that comes in the scenario, and then you can choose your characters so that you will be able to have somebody to fight and hopefully destroy the evil one that these evil cultists are trying to bring into this world. At this point, you can choose a player color, which will then allow you to place your tentacle token markers on your sanity, your health, your stress, and all of your special abilities that your character has. You may have noticed earlier that I mentioned that your characters are slightly insane, and this is where the last part of the setup for your character comes into play. Each character will be dealt an insanity condition from a random deck of cards, and this will represent a problem that they have to overcome, some condition that they have that will make it harder for you individually than the rest of the players. Now, to complete your scenario sheet, you're going to take the miniature of the Great Old One that you're going to be fighting. You will take the stage cards of that particular Great Old One, their monster card that shows what particular unique unit along with the regular cultist that will be in this particular scenario. You will also have the regular scenario card that gives you some instructions for the scenario and the monster card for that particular scenario. This will give you a full picture of what enemies you'll have to face and what specific tasks you have to accomplish to disrupt the ritual that the mad cultists have already nearly completed. Now you will take the deck of discovery cards that comes in the scenario that you are playing, and you will take these to shuffle into a deck. These items will be useful for you later, and you will earn them potentially over the course of the game. Now, put your investigators in the starting space for the scenario and be prepared for the fight of your life. Now it's time to find out what exactly you can do on your turns. Each character sheet conveniently shows a flowchart of each complete round or turn, and it specifically shows what actions each person can take. However, you have to also remember there are always 2 special actions for each scenario, but we're just going to go over the general actions that are available in every scenario. The first action is simply to run, which means that you can move up to 3 spaces in the particular map that you're playing in. However, if you pass through or start in a space that has enemies, they will follow you. So as you're running, they keep coming and they do not leave you alone in peace. Unless, of course, you have the stealth ability, in which case you can actually run and skip past your enemies. The second action is to attack. Attacking in this game is done by rolling dice. You can attack an enemy in your space, or if you have the marksman ability, you'll be able to attack someone in an adjacent space. So, you'll roll dice, but first you'll be rolling 3 black dice, but as you level up or use special abilities, you can also add green dice to your dice pool, which are better than the black. And rolling dice has a number of different effects. The exclamation point is a success, so that means that you get a hit. And if you roll the tentacles, that means horror, so your sanity will be damaged, or you'll lose sanity. And finally, the elder signs are arcane power that you can only use if you have special abilities. As you take horror, you will move your marker down the sanity track, but each time that you reach the red circle spots, you'll be able to level up an ability. So, over time, you actually want to lose your sanity to make yourself more powerful, and at certain points you will also gain a green die to your dice pool at these particular markers. Additionally, you can never take more sanity damage once you get to a new red mark. So essentially, it's a way of preventing you from losing too much sanity too fast. Unfortunately, reaching one of these red marks also has a side effect, which means that you actually trigger your insanity effect. So, for the most part, even though it's beneficial to move your insanity marker further for the purposes of leveling up, getting your abilities stronger, and gaining green dice, you are going to be triggering your insanity, and you're getting closer to losing the game, or dying essentially, by going to the end of the track. So it's not all, roses and flowers. But also, if you decide that you're rolling horribly and you're taking too much horror, or in the case of enemies attacking you, which we'll discuss later, if you're taking too much damage, you're always allowed to use stress. You can spend stress in order to re-roll any dice that you want. That can be dice that your opponents roll against you, or it can be dice that you roll for attacking or accomplishing other tasks. For each stress that you spend, you may re-roll 1 die. That way you can mitigate the luck, which is very important in this game. The third action is to rest. As long as there are no enemies in your space, meaning that you are in a safe space, you are able to heal any combination of 3 stress and health. So you could heal 2 stress, 1 health, or 2 health, 1 stress, or 3 health, 3 stress, so that you can recover and try to stay alive through this horrible night. The final main action that you can take is to trade. So if you're in the same space as another player, you're able to trade any items from discovery cards that you've picked up along the way. Actually, it could be items or companions that you've found. So if someone else needs an item or companion that you have, you're more than welcome to trade and optimize your position. after taking any 3 actions on your turn, it's now time for the Mythos phase. So you will draw a card from the Mythos deck, which will inevitably be something horrible. Every now and then it won't be so bad if you're lucky, but generally it will be very, very bad for the team. You'll have monsters appearing, you will have other crazy side effects that cause different problems, either monsters moving towards you, and that's something that you have to deal with. Once the Mythos phase is over, you will now be able to move to the either draw a card or fight enemy step. So in this particular case, if there's no enemies in your space after you draw your Mythos card, you can draw a discovery card, which you will be able to place under your character sheet if you actually are able to claim an item or a companion, or unless you suffer a condition, which is usually a bad thing. But if there are enemies in your space, they will attack you. Now, you've already had your chance to fight, so here it's just them trying to do damage to you. So they will roll dice based on what dice are on their monster card and try to attack you or cause you horror. So exclamation points for them will be damage, and the tentacles will just cause you additional horror, making you lose sanity. But that resolves that part of the phase. Then you finally move on to the end of turn resolution, in which case you're going to, you'll find out if there are 3 of the red symbols from the Mythos cards in the discard pile of the Mythos deck. You will move the Great Old One 1 space on its track towards, ultimately being summoned. Now, if this happens, after you move the Great Old One to a red circle, the first red circle, if he hasn't already been summoned by you disrupting the ritual by whatever requirement the scenario has, then he will be summoned. The Great Old One will come on the board. You will resolve and flip over the first stage card to show what the reveal effect is. Now, if you've already disrupted the ritual, you would have already done this, and you would have already summoned the Great Old One. But if you have not, and he advances to the first red circle, he will be summoned automatically. But if you have not disrupted the ritual, you will not be able to hurt the Great Old One, which just means that you're in more danger than you were before, and you have something that you can't even stop. But if you've disrupted the ritual, then you'll be able to actually get closer to winning the game by defeating the Great Old One. Now, in addition to this, in the resolution phase, you'll also deal with any fire damage that you might have incurred and any other specific issues that must be resolved. So that covers basically the entire flow of the game and what actions you can take, at least the general ones, not counting the scenario-specific actions. And ultimately, that is going to be the game of you trying to accomplish whatever goal the scenario has you to accomplish so that you can start fighting and killing the Elder One that gets summoned. Once you kill it, you win. But, of course, if all of you die, or if one of you dies before you've even summoned the Elder One, then you lose. So really what ends up happening in this game is by the time you get to the point where you've summoned the Elder One, it's going to get really tough, because not only is the Great Old One very difficult, but also the more you hurt it, you'll go through progressive stages that make it harder and harder, and ultimately the final stage will be the most challenging because so many horrible events will be happening at the end of every turn that are going to be accelerating you to your doom. So you have to hope at that point that you have lost enough of your sanity, ironically enough, that you're powerful enough and leveled up enough to where you can eliminate the Elder One with great haste. But that being said, the other issues I should just bring up is each investigator, as I said before, has special abilities. Each investigator has 2 common special abilities and 1 unique special ability that only they have. The other 2 are from a general pool of special abilities that each investigator has a pair of. I think there's 6 total common abilities, so you'll get 2 of those 6 with each investigator plus their unique ability. And apart from that really is it. You're just fighting monsters. You're moving around, trying to accomplish your goals, and trying to go just insane enough to win at the last second. But the good news is, if you all die, if the last player dies as they defeat the Great Old One, you still win. As long as you kill him, if you sacrifice yourself, it was for a worthy cause.
Okay, so now, as you can see, this game is relatively straightforward. For a game that has all these crazy miniatures and a lot of pieces and components, rules-wise, it's not that complicated, which is nice because, I like some games that are really complicated, but I also prefer to have some that aren't so overwhelming. And since this is a cooperative game, it's kind of nice to have it pretty simple. That way everyone can be on the same page as you're all working together and trying to move towards just destroying something super powerful, super evil. And I think that's a good thing. Now, component quality, I'm pretty impressed. Obviously, the miniatures are stellar. That goes without saying. The miniatures are awesome. The tiles are all thick and nice. I mean, all of the tiles are, they're just super thick, and they ain't going anywhere. And the fact that they're double-sided is super convenient. That way, they're multi-use. The cards are not just the best quality. They don't have a linen finish, which some people don't care. I like to have a linen finish. These don't have it. They seem not super thick either, but they get the job done. You don't have a lot of cards here. These little insanity conditions. You're not really shuffling them much or anything, so they don't need to be super sturdy. But these other cards that give you the items and whatnot, they seem to be maybe a little better quality, but they're not just the best, but they're also not bad, so I can't complain there. Overall, I would give this game an A at least for component quality. As far as the strategy level here, there is a pretty good bit of strategy in this game. Even though, yes, there's dice that you deal with for combat and for general actions, there's a lot of mitigation. Using the stress to reroll or trying to get the right items to help yourself out, and apart from that, trying to decide what people to be in your party. If you're playing solo like I do, typically, then you're picking two characters that you want to have some synergy or be able to counterbalance each other's weaknesses or offer different strengths. But the more players you have, the more there is of that, and picking the right team is important. But also, whenever you level up or go crazy, however you want to, I think they call it leveling up, but it's really you just going mad, and somehow that makes you better because you're just, I guess, your primal fear is actually drawing out some of your strengths as you're going absolutely insane. That is a really cool aspect, and it adds another level of strategy of how to level up your character, because you're not going to be able to level up everything to the max. There's no way. So you have to decide what's the most important, and that path of trying to go, you kind of want to go insane early on. You want to go crazy so that you can get more powerful, but you have to decide early on, what do you want to focus on? Do you want to, let's say you have, like, in my case, I've got Tony sitting here, the sailor. He has brawling and toughness and his navigation ability. Brawling is great because you want to be able to get in there and try to punch some people up, and if you really level it up, you can hit everybody for the full power of whatever damage you roll. So you can hit 3 people. Let's say you roll 4 damage. You can do 4 damage to every single person in your space, which sometimes could be a lot. That's huge. But toughness is great because toughness means you take less damage, and the farther you go, you get to the point where you like in this case, instead you may reduce wounds taken by 2 and loss of sanity by 1 from any source. So you take 2 less damage and 1 less sanity from any source that would be dealing damage or horror or whatever you want to call it. So you want that to protect yourself, to keep yourself alive longer. But what do you go for first? Do you want the brawling so you can try to kill everyone as fast as possible, or do you want to do the toughness so you can try to last as long as possible? The problem is there's a time limit. So you have, the great old one is sitting here accelerating towards coming in to the board, and so you're kind of wanting to not take too long, so you're trying to hurry up. Then you got his navigation ability that lets him move farther, and then he actually heals stress whenever he does move, and so that's really helpful. That way you can use your stress more often to reroll, because all he has to do is move and he refreshes it automatically. All this great stuff. So there's a lot of strategy in this game, in my opinion. Yes, there is luck, and any cooperative game there's got to be luck, dice, all that kind of stuff. But I am a firm believer that there's a good bit of strategy here. As far as replayability, they give you all these different scenarios. So with all these different scenarios, each time you play one, you move on to the next one. The base game comes with, gosh, how many? 6? And then the expansion, the Season 2 expansion comes with another 6. So you have, at first, 6 episodes to play. Then another 6 if you get the Season 2. Each scenario is interesting unto itself because it has its own mechanics, its own layout of the board, and replaying them is fun because it's not like you just play it once and that's it. Playing the same one multiple times is still enjoyable. But because there's so many different ones, you get to go around and rotate them out, try different combinations, and since you can combine The great old one of your choice with the base game, you have Cthulhu and Hastur. You get to combine them with the scenario, and their Mythos cards from the scenario and the great old one means that you can make even the specific scenario have unique things. So you choose your own character, which can change game to game. The scenario versus what great old one you combine with it makes the Mythos deck different, and the whole experience of each scenario, the battle, the combat, and what monsters are actually going to be there, because the scenario has its own monsters, and then the actual great old one has its own special monster it brings to the table. So that brings tons of replayability to the game. I mean, you just cycle through. You play the scenarios, you can cycle back and play the ones you like the most, or play all of them over again. I mean, it's just, there's lots of replayability here. So that's great to me. I love it. And then finally, overall, what do I think of this game? You can probably already get an idea that I like it a pretty good bit. And honestly, cooperative games are not my typical cup of tea, because I like player interaction where, like in Cosmic Encounter, which is my favorite game of all time, I like Cosmic Encounter because I like the interaction where you can negotiate with people, you're attacking other players and trying to bluff and try to find ways to come out on top. And in a cooperative game, you lose all of that type of interaction that I like so much. However, what this does bring to the table that I enjoy, one, it works solo, so I don't need to play with anyone else. So that's a huge benefit. But if you are playing, one of the cool things about this that I like, if you're going to play with more than one person, is that you actually you're very excited for the other person's turn, because you're struggling to survive and make it to the end. At first, you might think, wow, we're doing pretty good. But as you get closer to the end, you're almost always going to be pushing your limits to getting close to dying. Even if you might win, you might not, but no matter. I've never played so well that it was just where no one was close to dying. I mean, the game is designed to make it tough. So whenever you have other people playing and you're looking at their die rolls and you're getting excited, you're going, "Ooh, come on!" You're all excited for each other. You're looking forward to seeing how successful they're going to be on their turn. So that is a wonderful thing. So for a cooperative game or as a solo game, this really hits the spot. So I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. It just the visuals are amazing. The component quality is amazing. The thrill and the tension that this game brings in a relatively short time frame of a game is just impressive. It just keeps you on your toes. You're constantly, teetering on the verge of destruction or maybe a twinge of success if you can pull through, and I like it. I like the fact that every game is tense, every game pushes you to the limits, and sometimes you make it, sometimes you don't, but it makes sense thematically. The thematicness of the game comes through so well. Each creature has their own different attack, whatever their special abilities are. Now, don't get me wrong, one thing I would like from this game is a little more in the way of uniqueness of monsters. I wish there were more variety in what the unique abilities are for each monster. But there is some variety here, so I can't complain too much. But I would like a little more of that. But, the great old ones and everything else, everything comes together to make this great package of theme, of tension and excitement, and that element of chance with the dice rolling that makes sure you never really know that you're going to pull through. It just works. So a 9 out of 10, very much recommended for me. If you like the theme, if you like cooperative games especially, and you like the dice type of combat, I would definitely say this is a game for you. So, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Bye. Hey everybody, this is Strategywizard, and today I'm going to be doing a review of Cthulhu Death May Die. I think they've all got let me put it this way. I probably shouldn't say that, I could do better.